just going to share the screen for our guest speakers today. Advanced.
Hello, I can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm there.
Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Nice to see you again. Hi, Vera. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, CARA. Thank you for joining us. And today we've got a rainy day in Joburg again, and we're also having some issues with load shedding. But here we are. We've all made a plan to be here. And thank you once again. A little bit of introductions for those that are going to be joining us and watching us for the first time on our YouTube channel, which we'll be uploading the content of our Zoom session onto. Let's start with a little bit of introductions. So I am MICHALOPOULOS. I am the founder and the CEO of the MICHALOPOULOS Cancer Project. Joining me today again, John Kominos, co-founder and director.
Good afternoon,
Thanks for
everybody.
joining, John.
Thanks, Evie.
And today we're going to be chatting about International Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. That in celebration and preparation for the 15th of February. This is a special day dedicated to create awareness around childhood cancer, to support the children and their siblings that are suffering from cancer, survivors and their families. So today we are very blessed to have our guest speakers, Vera and CARA, joining us from CANSA. Very warm welcome to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to have some presentations today. So I think, Vera, if you all ready from your side, we'll go through to your presentation, a little bit of an intro, Vera, as to where you're from. Vera joining us from the Nicholas Lodge, the TLC Centre, one of Cancer's centres in Pretoria. So over to you, Vera.
Thank you very much, and it's nice to be here and to join the day, and yeah, playing around power failing Christ as quickly.
Yeah.
Yes, I have sufficient time and my laptop is charged, so I can continue.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm the National Coordinator for Childhood Cancer, and I started TLC many moons ago when my own child was diagnosed with cancer, and then was invited to join CANSA on a national level to help with this task. So it's 23 years later and I'm still on board.
Wow, thank you.
That's my story.
And Vera does an amazing job, and we've been to visit Vera a couple of times at the TLC Centre, the Nicholas Lodge, a very special place, one that is very close to our hearts, and we have a special surprise coming for the Nicholas Lodge on the week of the 15th. So keep watching, we'll keep you posted. But as I mentioned, that those that are listening, please, if you would like to contribute any food parcel donations for the week of the 15th up until the 19th of February, we would really appreciate it. We have two delivery sites that you can deliver the goods to, one based in Bedford View. We will share the links, one based in Rand Park Ridge. And Vera has mentioned to us before that the food items that they really need supply of, to be able to give to these little kiddies that are coming out of hospital and going home, and Vera will give us more clarity on that, but are essential food items that these children need to take home to sustain some source of nutritional value in what they're going to be getting for the next couple of days coming out of their treatment from hospital. And food items that we are requesting to be donated, please, to the core so we can do a handover to Nicholas Lodge, are things like peanut butter, Future Life. We have
fish products, and Vera, anything else that you guys want?
Marmite.
Toiletries, yeah.
Marmite.
Nutritional ice cream.
Okay.
We'll try and find that, but
that's
I'm
always
not
a
sure.
good one.
Maybe Nicole can help us with that, Nicole. Okay, you got it, Vera.
Awesome. So please, if anybody's interested in donating, please send us an email or a WhatsApp The details are all on our website, www.philotimos.org.za. Please, we'd like to make the week of the 15th to the 19th of February a very special week in celebration of International Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. We're going to make it a week, not a day. So join us in giving and doing what we do in the spirit of Philotimos. Right, enough said. Vera, over to you with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just thought, I just want to share something. One of our diagnoses, the second highest for childhood cancer, is retinoblastoma amongst the African children. It is just, there are so many things that we don't know about specific diseases. And therefore, I thought this to be a good choice to just do a little bit of education on a specific diagnosis. So I want to share the screen with you.
Thank you. There we go.
Is it showing on your site?
Yes, it's coming up now. You can see the complete one? Yes, it looks perfect. Thank you.
So, retinoblastoma amongst the African children in South Africa is quite high. And just showing then a slide there of eye that's been removed and how it looks on the inside. The history is that in the 18th century, the first clinical report of retinoblastoma was recognized, and lately it accounts for about 2% of all childhood cancers worldwide. So it seems that it's not very high, but when you're in the ward, it is visible. So what I want to show you now on top, you will see the yellowish, whitish reflection that is some eyes more visible or less visible. Yeah. On the bottom, you can see an eye that is got on the left photo and the right eye, as you see it, is more a bluish glossy reflection. And the right photo on the left side is more orangey reflections. In general, if you look at these photos, it's been detected when they take photos. The one in the middle on top, there's on the right side is a reddish iris, which it's kind of indicating that that photo was taken with a flash. Yeah. And then you see the moldy left side eye. Yeah. So this is the offset of any retinoblastoma, is looking at that. Now, it's the second highest diagnosis in South Africa amongst the African children after leukemia, which is then the #1 childhood cancer diagnosis for children of all races. So in the case of a photo that you see here, it is a child who's got bilateral retinoblastoma, one eye already been removed, and the cancer is then in the second eye, also visible. Sure. Just in terms of the education there, it's a disease that causes abnormal growth in the retinal layers of an eye, and just showing the pigmented layer of it and the nervous layer of a retina, and then your central arteries and veins and optic nerves. So all the areas where it can start and then grow inside the eye. Like on the cut that you see section. Sorry for that. Okay, now previous one, just want to go. In terms of the symptoms, it will be problems with eye movements like sudden crossed eyes when a child never had it before. A persistent irritation in the eye, differences in the pupil size, iris color, bulging eyes, tearing, or a cataract. So knowing the cataract, it may be then another disease, it may be not cancer. But if we see anything in the eye that's got that abnormal reflection, we have to just suggest that somebody immediately go to the doctors. In general, these eyes will be removed because the cancer can spread to the brain, but having it as a removed eye can save a life and hopefully then still have another eye. It can be loss of vision in one or both eyes. The unilateral is one eye, which is a sporadic thing and that we see more often in 60% of the cases in South Africa. And then the bilateral in both eyes is 40% of cases that is characterized by the germline mutations of a retinoblastoma 1 gene. It is usually inherited, and these children, the parent can have leukemia or another disease. Also, it doesn't have to be retinoblastoma, but they do carry the gene. This germline mutation, it's impossible to clinically tell if it is coming from the parents or not. But there is a high risk of other primary tumors later in life for these children when they are survivors. So they will have to be tested for leukemia and other cancers for the rest of their lives when they have it hereditary or bilateral, as it increases the risk. In developing countries, the unilateral one eye usually presented is usually presented equally in both genders at the age of less than 2 years. So the most children that we will see is between 2 years and 5 years. Very young and then already blind. Most cases present with a whitish reflex, or also called the cat's eye or leukocoria, and it's best seen in an artificial lighting of flash photos. That is awareness that we need to increase. In South Africa, we've got a retinocluster incidence in the Limpopo area. It's higher incidence in Polokwane region. Worldwide, there's no strong sex or racial predilection, but it affects slightly more boys than girls. In Eastern Cape, you will almost have no cancers of this case, and in Polokwane, it will be 1 in 10 in the ward of already diagnosed children. The treatment options, the enucleation is the removal of one or both eyes. It can be treated with chemotherapy, or they can have an external beam radiation therapy or photocoagulation. Sorry for that word, that is always strong on my tongue or difficult, which is a laser treatment that can only be done in Red Cross, or the brachytherapy, where they also will put a radiation in the eye. They actually take the eye out of a socket, treat the eye, and replace the eye. So this will happen when you have a child with both eyes having cancer and you are trying to save the strongest of the 2 eyes so that the child is not totally blind. Yeah. For children anywhere else in the country, it means that these child need to travel maybe 6 months in the Cape and 6 months at home. So it's a very expensive experience for the parents, and these parents cannot work because it may be a long period for this to continue until it's done. So the retinoblastoma cases with genetic involvement should be continuously monitored for the development of other cancers. These 3 kiddies are all 3 kiddies from Limpopo province. Sure. The University of Potchefstroom did a study indicating that there's 2 possible factors associated with the development of retinoblastoma. That includes the maternal use of multivitamin supplements and then the human papilloma virus. There are limited evidence of environmental factors contributing to this diagnosis. CANSA TL supports the eye prosthesis, which we've done since the beginning of TLC. So on the left side is when the eyeball on its own is being removed, and we try to make it custom-made for the child so that the eye can have an exact matching color than the other eye, and it can move. So these eyes is a little bit rough on the back, and when it's inside, you won't detect that it's an artificial eye because it's the same ability of movement than the normal eye. In the case you have an orbital facial prosthetic, it also means that maybe some of the bone parts of the eye is removed and the socket is uneven and you can't put an eye inside. So now you've got something that you basically glue on top. Usually they will match the skin color and they will supply artificial glasses with a normal glass lens also, so that you can't see the lining on the sides. So it's hiding very well, and it is helping the child with the self-esteem. So even if a child has got both eyes being removed, we will still continue to support it because the child needs to be accepted in the community. Most children can be rejected or being hidden away, made fun of, mocked, and the child is normal mentally. So we assist the child in that, and then also reducing the infection risk when we add these products. So we had received positive feedback on this, that the ongoing awareness and education on this help. There's an indication of a decrease in late-stage diagnosed arrivals. Usually a lot of cultural beliefs can include that the child is being cursed. And now by understanding the medical side of it, the parents are more likely to go to the hospital early, and more children will arrive in due to the increased knowledge and availability of the information that is being offered. The survival rates of these retinoblastoma children will increase due to the early detection. So one of the things is that due to the fact that especially the Limpopo and the Venda people, this is a high issue, a higher rate of diagnosis than in any other group in South Africa. The one challenge that we have to address is the addressing of parental denial, where cultural beliefs still is strong, and they don't understand the disease and they try alternative routes. And only when the cancer continue to grow and basically they discover that nothing can be done, then they will return back to the hospital, and it might be too late where the cancer is in already stage 3 or 4, and the child very likely to pass away. So this is a challenge, and it's a very curable and very treatable diagnosis, and we have to address and take hands and see how much we can do on the specific diagnosis. So thank you for the time on this one, and inviting you to join Cancer TLC on Facebook. So that is the short on that one.
Thank you, Vera. That was very interesting. And I think, as you said, something that we probably weren't as aware of, because I think the most common type of cancer in children is always going to be your leukemias, you know, but this is something that's opened up our eyes, especially in terms of being able to create this awareness around, as you say, the early signs of these symptoms, that, you know, parents don't prolong it in the hope that it's going to go away, and it doesn't, and eventually, as you said, by the time they get to hospital, it's already staged at 3 or 4. So very important for us, John, I think, to try and get a lot of awareness around our cancer awareness campaign for children. I think this is very interesting. And then perhaps, Vera, if you can just touch a little bit on the second most common cancers in children being the leukemia. CARA, I'm not sure if your presentation is based on this subject at all. Maybe CARA can just let us in so we don't duplicate the presentations. Let me just find out. Hi, CARA.
Hi, Effie. No, I'm not doing a presentation. I'm just speaking about more generally about the services. And Vera was doing just a specialization on just giving you a bit more of a deeper perspective on some of the more common cancers.
Okay.
So Vera, you can definitely respond to this one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cara. So for children of all races, it is leukemia ALL, and then you also have a myoblastic, that is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The AML is myoblastic leukemia. And then you also have a high incidence of chronic leukemia. The number 2 cancer for white children will be brain tumors, different types of brain tumors. And then for your African children, the number 2 will be the retinoblastoma.
Okay.
These are because of genetic factors and inheritance.
Yeah.
Then you do have a lot of your lymphomas, Hodgkin's, non-Hodgkin's. You have kidney cancer. You will more or less often have a liver cancer. So I'm just calling by the common names.
Yeah.
And then sarcomas will be your soft tissue cancers. There's rhabdomyosarcoma, which is a muscle cancer, the osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer, and that is more prevalent in teenagers. Then you have your Ewing sarcoma, which is also your cartilage bones and soft tissues, which is also, that one can be in any age.
Yeah.
But depending on the age of a child, the development, so your toddlers will have cancers more relating to the abdominal area. And then in your teenagers, you will get it in the long bones. And it will return when that child stops to grow, that you will then see the cancers all over. But the childhood cancers differ from the adult cancers. The treatment is much more aggressive because the repair and renovation of cells is much faster than in adults.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, 100%. And Vera, just in terms of the Nicholas Lodge itself, for those that are not aware of what it is that the facility provides, what services someone can look out for when they are in need of going somewhere, when they've just found out that their child or their baby has been diagnosed with a certain kind of cancer. Can you just highlight a little bit of information around that for us?
I think I'm going to do that one and then the other facilities that we've got. I hope it doesn't much or CARA, that it's not affecting you. But Nicholas Lodge has got a 50-bed facility where the majority will be the parent. Sometimes the child, say the child is in between treatment or child arrive early and only need to be admitted the next day, but they're coming from far. Some children can't be discharged because of distance, of high risk, or lack of transport availability. A child might have multiple sessions coming and going, so that child may then stay with a parent in the lodge. In Polokwane, we've got the ward where the parents may stay with a child in the ward. That is a 33-bed and with 20 beds for parents, but now they're adding on some parents sleeping on the chairs because it's simply the need is higher than the space available. Sure. In Durban, we've got a facility, also a TLC lodge for families, and we also have some for teenagers in Western Cape at Tygerberg. So we will offer support, general support, toiletries, clothing, food parcels, emotional support, spiritual support that will include counseling, information, education, and grief, and then preparation for death and dying if needed.
Okay. And
we will walk from the start to the finish, and then even afterwards having grief parents coming back, and we will deal with the grief groups also when they request informational sessions.
Sure, that's very interesting. And your last point that you mentioned, Vera, in terms of palliative care for children, is this something that they would be able to get assistance from the TLC center, or is it something that they would have to outsource?
It's usually most children will stay in hospital. If they see that the child is crossing a border, even provincial borders, they will try and send the child home as soon as possible, making sure that the child do have access to the doctors and the guidance, referring them to a local hospital. Unfortunately, in many cases, if it's a rural child, the access to the local hospital is not always possible because that hospital can still be 20-30 km away and the parent's not having transport. But the parent continuously will have access to the hospital to obtain the medication. And then from our side, we can offer guidance in terms of how to deal with your child, how to avoid a pressure sores, what to look out for, how to guide your child in diet needs, and then actually preparing the child. The parent mother wants to support the child, and a parental thing is that to see that your child is eating. Yeah. So it can come to force feeding while the child's body is actually shutting down. Yeah. And how to guide the parent to give limited food not to stop it because the parent need to do something, and we will then guide them softly and kindly into the ability of what the child actually needs, focusing them onto things that can limit uncomfort or discomfort, control of temperature if possible, control of pain if possible,
Okay.
and just preparing the child for dying. That is one of the soft spots that I do have, is that I know there's always a white elephant in the room.
Yeah.
People don't know how to prepare the child, and they will always sidestep the topic and talk all around it. A child don't want to upset a mom or a dad, so the child will avoid the topic, and the mom don't want to upset the child and they avoid the topic. While it can actually be such a blessing if you have the ability and your child is old enough to understand, to prepare the child for what is happening. And there are beautiful ways that we do it, that the child can want to go. So the anxiety and that thorn in the coffin is just being removed from the harsh situation.
Yeah, yeah, and as you say, Vera, it is always a very difficult topic. I don't think any parent or any child wants to ever have to cross that bridge and have that conversation. But I think, as you said, with your professional assistance, it helps the entire family to be able to come to terms. And perhaps in that moment when they have come to terms, they then get to appreciate the time and the value that they have with that loved one, as opposed to, having to have that constant worry of, what happens, when is it going to happen, how are we going to deal with it, which is the stress that's building up inside, that is perhaps going to be a build-up of them in the breakdown of the relationship between that cancer patient and or child, because of the fear of the unknown, as you said. So yeah, I think, John, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on comments on that.
I also want to add, sorry, John.
No, go ahead.
In terms of the siblings also, parents avoid to include the sibling. They try to keep them to the side. But the sad thing is that if you do that and you do not allow the child the sibling now, to see the deceased body, and that can include even a child of a parent, is that the child cannot deal with a situation. There's no finishing off of a grief session, because it's been stolen from them and it is their loss. So they need to be included, they need to be involved, and they need to see the process through, so that they themselves can heal and not have issues still 20 years later that's never been dealt with.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
What you say resonates so much with us, and we've actively been involved in wanting to shortly launch another interesting part of the project, which is the Philotimo Kids Club project, where we're going to focus a lot of time and effort on the kids that are going through cancer and obviously the treatments. And as you've so rightly said, the effect that it's having on the family unit, and to make everybody part of the journey, so that no one feels left out and everybody feels like they're there at the end. And hopefully, and I know Nicole, I'm not going to catch you off guard, Nicole, but I think Nicole's very involved in our cancer navigation program. Yeah. And I'm sure, Nicole, that this is going to become quite an important part of the project, where we're going to assist the children and the families of these kids navigating through this process. So yeah, we understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you. Perhaps, Cara, if we can get a little intro into your information that you want to share with us today, that would be awesome. So we're going to hand over to Cara. Let's just see if Cara has joined us. There we go. Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Hi, Nicole. Lovely to see familiar faces and lovely to meet you guys. Yeah, Shem, I think Vera has always done a very good job with a lot of information, especially about our centers where we are available. But something I think was a huge challenge for CANSA was during lockdown was the actual access to patients. As an organization, we're now 2 years old this year. And, we've been doing, we run on a social work structure. So support groups and counseling, when it's one-on-one with the patient, family counseling, counseling of caregivers, the way we work has been structured in that way for many years. But with COVID, running support groups, doing one-on-one counseling, home visits, family, you know, the whole world changed. And therefore, for example, as Vera mentioned, where we have the facilities where children, or we are close to children, we are getting referrals, they are staying in our facilities, like in, for example, Polokwane, Durban, Steve Biko, Pretoria, and in Tygerberg. That's different because they have access. But what is happening now to the kids that are going home and their families are still stressed out and not coping very well? So this is when we actually launched our telecounseling service last year. That actually has been a wonderful resource for us to support cancer patients, their loved ones, and even their children. And I think that's also like it's a very important point that a lot of people forget, that cancer has been focusing on. Our core functions for our TLC services, obviously the initial needs of the child that actually has cancer, to assist as best we can. The psychological work comes in with the child, prepping them, assisting them in guiding, obviously dealing with those issues, depending on the age. As Vera said, it's a mixed bag. You have one ward, you have 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then you have teenagers that are actually in the adult ward. They are not in the pediatric oncology ward. So it depends, but mostly 12 and up are not allowed in pediatric oncology. They go to adults, which means they also lose the rights of parents being with them. It's very challenging for a teenager to actually go through cancer right now. And in Tygerberg, we started really, really small with the teenage ward. It's a 2-bed and it can have a mom and a child and a mom and a child, because the current adult ward doesn't work for that. The 13 and 14-year-olds around 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 49-year-olds. There are a lot of challenges we have in the system, and the way the system is currently catering for teenagers as already deemed to be a bit of a handful in general, and now their bodies are raging and they have cancer, and they're too old for the pediatric oncology ward, and they're too old and they're too young for the adult oncology ward. So the challenges are really big to see, you know, with our personnel and volunteers, how we can try and do our best here. And the problem is that a lot of patients feel really safe in a hospital environment, and they go home and the nurse isn't there, or a Vera isn't there. And that is when we're having a lot of challenges, because then you go onto local clinic level and community level. A lot of people, again, as Vera said, are not coping well with understanding of childhood cancer. So we have huge challenges. So we know now and Vera will tell you how, for example, a lot has changed at Steve Biko in terms of the way kids are managed, the amount of days they're staying over, the way they mix. Today, patients aren't mixing with long-term lodgers. It's the way the systems have had to change during COVID to still keep oncology running has really had to challenge a lot about the way things are working, the way we're catering for patients, etc. So our telephonic counseling service is free and is available in 7 languages. So we can offer it in English, Afrikaans, isiZulu, isiXhosa, Setswana, Sesotho, and Seswati. And it's booked on an appointment basis from Monday to Friday. You can call us yourself, you can email us or WhatsApp us, and someone will call you back to make an appointment. And yeah, so it's a huge part of how we're trying to give back and how we're still making our social workers and professionals, where Vera and other colleagues that are assisting us with managing this service, specifically for the kids. And then we also have social workers dealing with the adults and also coping with the child as well. And all the topics that Vera was saying are actually being covered and dealt with, due to the fact that cancer patients also do not want to move a lot. We know that they have like a much higher risk of contracting COVID. We know the kids have now, with the second strain, are now really hugely targeted. And therefore parents, they don't want to go anywhere extra except treatments and back, or stay in the treatment facility. So, and the same with cancer patients, you know, they aren't traveling around, they aren't going to shops, they're not active treatment. We know the oncologists are like, stay at home, don't see your family members. So we know the isolation of cancer patients has actually been massive in terms of, you know, just a normal person is full of a bit of anxiety and stress and, you know, just struggling with wrapping their heads around their limitations. Let alone someone that's on obviously difficult treatment and side effects, etc. So the service has been our way of saying that we are still here, things have changed, but you can still access us, but from the comfort of your own home. We want you to stay at home, you're on active treatment, take care of yourself, but you have access to professionals who can support you and guide you. And we do at least 6 to 8 sessions, so there's no limitation. And then you can also see the same counselor over and over again. Obviously, being in the language of your choice is really important, because I know for myself, ek gaan Afrikaans praat en is reg, but if you want to get all my emotions out, you're not going to get it in Afrikaans. I'm not going to communicate how I need to, and this is why having it in people's own language, in their home language, will help people cope and really process and deal better with a diagnosis compared to like saying like ek is hartseer, and you know what I mean, in like a third or second language. And this is something, you know, as organizations we have to take into consideration the needs of our clients and the needs of the poor and how people are really coping, because it's the poor that need the most guidance and help. If I just think of Vera's work now, the way the staff have split the load of patients, you know, having staff that can translate to Tsonga and other languages, and then other staff are doing Sikoza, and then so we're all doing our best to make sure that mothers can be heard and children can really understand things in their own language. It's a really big priority for us. So this service is, you know, from your own home, and it's at no cost to you. So we will carry the cost of the call. I know sometimes we're actually doing quite a few Zoom family calls. So a lot of stuff has literally been going Zoom. Then people don't have airtime, which is a challenge. Then we can call you back on different platforms. So we're really doing our best to make our services accessible, because we know the anxiety that cancer patients are going through from childhood to the parents is really big. Another huge kind of like forgotten area is actually children. This is something Vera is also very passionate about. The siblings go through a lot, but they aren't often part of the process. We know Vera will tell you stories of her long-termers, and even Bobby, that's also, he managed our Polokwane facility for us, of kids that are 4 or 5 months there, and it's just the mom. They haven't seen their dad, they haven't seen their grandma, they haven't seen their sisters or brothers, and sometimes they actually don't see them again. And you know, they feel so rejected. They're missing school, they're missing their neighbors, they're missing their family and their loved ones, and they're just so isolated. So the siblings also need to really a lot of attention in terms of helping them cope with the fact that they miss their brother, they miss their sister, and also to try and facilitate that communication is also huge. And also the kids that have a parent with cancer, they also are quite forgotten, but those are still children. They're still processing those emotions. My mom has cancer. What does this mean for me? You know, first, their mom has cancer. Is she going to die? All those emotions of like, is my mom going to be at my matric dance? Will she make it? Will my mom be able to take me to school? And you know, when the kids are really small, it's almost, they always think of their survival. And it's like, but what am I going to eat if something happens to mom? Do you know what I mean? It's like, because the smaller kids are thinking like, how am I going to survive without this parent? So I think for myself as a social worker, you know, this is really something we're very, very passionate about, is still trying to keep our services going, just in a very different way to cater for the fact that we know the third wave's coming. If we just hear one more wave, I think everyone is so, it's a nice Afrikaans word I want to use, I won't use it, but nonsense full of this situation that keeps on changing, the goalpost keeps moving, and the challenge we're facing is for our patients is massive. So we have to think of something different in 3 months and come up with something interesting and say, flip, how can we keep helping people? Because they're not coming to the offices. The social workers are sitting there. We have the people, but we can't get to the patients. Even at the hospitals, a lot of our support groups and our external things have been running. You know, for example, a lot of the hospitals, we do tea weekly with volunteers in different oncology wards. We do support services to certain oncologies. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is all on hold. So cancer patients are really missing out on a lot of valuable services due to the situation.
And I think, Cara, you've hit the nail on the head, you know, because that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, was how has COVID impacted on cancer patients and children, especially because of the challenges that you've just mentioned, you know, and I think we take it for granted that, you know, most of us can sit home and you know, we can still go to the shops and we can still go to work. But I mean, the challenges that come with COVID and a cancer patient and or child are double dose, because they're not only having to, as you said, deal with their cancer and the treatment and getting to the hospital, but then they've also got those intermittent challenges with the COVID and the hospitals being full, and you know, some hospitals being short-staffed because of the COVID situation. So you know, I think what you've done in terms of the telecounseling helps a huge load of people out there that are battling to come to terms with that, and not only just the physical side of dealing with how to get to and from, but I think from the emotional and the psychological side of it, you know, that must be taking a huge toll on cancer patients, because as you said before, you know, they are getting admitted and they are going for treatment and they've got the nurses around and you've got other patients around. So you, during your treatment, you feel supported in the sense that you've got all these workers.
It's like a safe space.
Yes.
It's like a scary but a safe space where everyone knows and understands what you're going through.
Yeah.
And then you go home and they don't understand, why is your child have no hair, where the eyebrow's gone.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he doesn't look well, like, is he going to make us all sick? There are so many challenges with stigma and challenge we're facing. And the biggest thing also now is actually been unemployment also. So before COVID, it's been tough. One parent normally stays. So one parent will now stop working to be with the child 24/7. Some hospitals do not allow the child to stay on their own. So the private ones, for example, you will never be able to leave a child like on their own. The parent must be there. In the public sector, they do allow. And then you have some kids that are like every month, once a month, their parents can afford to possibly come down. And other kids are on their own for much longer periods. There's no way the family can afford to have one person. Now, people just don't have jobs. So now they're coming to Vera with literally a suitcase. All they want to do is help their child, but they literally have nothing else to come with. So Vera collects secondhand clothes and gets things washed and prepared and does it, organizes by ages. It's because literally the dire situation of just the basics. I always say, 20, 30 years ago, it was just about the cancer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It was simpler. How to cope with the cancer. But the amount of poverty we have in South Africa now and the amount of struggle and the amount of what people are going through, we can't only just look at how we're going to help you cope with cancer. You can't ignore the poverty, the challenges. You can't ignore those things. Can't just be overlooked. So you have to look at a patient holistically. And this is why we have to work with other organizations as well, because we cannot be everything to everyone. We try our best, but we already are doing a big chunk. We need you guys to come and bless us and come to Nicholas Lodge and find something that you feel connected with, that you can assist us with, so we can help more families, and together the partnership can mean more. I think that's so important to us as partnering, because we wish we could be everything to everyone, but we can't. So we do have a lot of amazing partners out there that we work with that are carrying this burden with us, that at the end goal is that a child and a family can be assisted and supported through our services and the relationships we have with other organizations.
Yeah.
So from my side, thank you so much. It's always wonderful working with you, and thank you for your commitment to us. So yeah, and I think that's how it goes. We always refer in between, and someone's doing something, we refer and vice versa. Yeah. I think at this stage, competing organizations is exhausting. It's really small-minded. It's about thinking the bigger picture and working together and trying to reduce duplication, but rather seeing gaps and seeing how you can make a real impact in children and families' lives. So yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity and for being such a wonderful partner to us.
Thank you. And we value you. And as we mentioned last week on our fantastic World Cancer Day webinar that we had, we value cancer. You have been our first partner that's joined us 2.5 years ago. So we do value what you guys do. And of course, as our own NPO and our own project, based on the main aim, which is to create the awareness, as you said, to come together and help, because you can't take everything up on your own. And that's where I believe that NPOs should work together, because we can help reach more people by joining forces instead of trying to do it on our own, and specialities, special, are especially dedicated to certain sections of what we do, So the kiddies that are out there and the families that are having to deal with their kids being diagnosed, to know that there's a place that they can refer to, as a TLC center, it's amazing, because that's what we need to do. We need to tell people that these places are available. And of course, in saying that, to be able to get people to become more aware of the facilities and what they can do to help. Because if everybody just gives 1%, I mean, we always started off saying, if everybody can just give 1%, of their time or of their day or dedication or whatever the case is, how much percentage would we have at the end of the day? It would be huge. So, and it's very true. So for us, main goal is to try and create this awareness. Of course, we're wanting to celebrate the 15th of February. It's a very special day to us. And it's one day dedicated in the year, specifically for International Childhood Cancer Awareness. But we know we celebrate the awareness in September. And when September comes, we will do a lot more campaigns about creating more awareness about children and cancers. and the families, and most importantly, as you said, the siblings, because I think, you know, we've come across a couple of referrals with children, and in that situation, the siblings were forgotten. You know, it's almost like you're having to now counsel not only the child that's been diagnosed, but also the fact that the parents are so focused on getting the child healthy that they almost, not intentionally, I think it's unintentionally, they don't realize that they focus and energy is going into that one child, and the other children perhaps are feeling a little bit left out, as you said, and we have to keep reminding the parents that it's important to include them, you know, and
that needs to be part of the process. I think that's, they can't be the when we have time we'll get to you. When they go and they test, the child needs to know but it's so difficult. Emotions are running high, as you said. It's a very difficult balancing act for a parent. That's why the more guidance and support they have, the better they really cope as a team, trying to work it all out.
And I think
on this topic of
sorry, go ahead, Vera, go ahead.
On this topic of yours with the siblings, one of the things that I'm extremely sensitive towards, and because also out of own experience, is that, okay, lately we've got so many organizations in getting involved with childhood cancer, but if everybody comes with a toy and a gift of a child, you convert that little child into a brat. So it is sad to say, but I'm talking out of own experience. So when somebody comes, says, "Where's mine? Where's my gift? You know, where's my toy? Where's whatever?" And that is not the biggest challenge. Is that if I, as a parent, cannot afford to buy equal stuff for the sibling or siblings,
a huge problem.
I've got a huge problem. So now I've got to be rude and remove it after you leave, or I have to go and buy with money that I don't have to address the needs of the siblings, to let them know that they're equally valuable, that they're equally loved. Because what siblings see is that there's one child already coming home every time with a new gift, but where's mine? I never receive. And then we've organizations that come to us, and I mean, they don't even greet the siblings. They can't be bothered. And one of the big things that they do is, like, should you see a sibling maybe at school, a teacher or a friend will ask, "How's your brother? How's your sister?" Never, "How are you?" So you simply, the messenger, you are not important. Truly a huge problem that we've got, and you see long-term effects of that child not valuing themselves because of a situation that started as a small child and started in oncology. So I promote that should any organization want to give a gift, that they focus on a hamper with different goodies in for everybody in the family. So it's not aimed at the child, but aimed at the family. And everybody benefit, and nobody is more important than somebody else.
And that's also like a very big misconception that people will come and say, "This is for the child with cancer. It's like canola oil and this and this and this." And then, but there's still 5 people at home. So now, and there's like hardly any food. So now must no one eat. So, and our mother's still trying to feed 3 children. So, do you know what I mean? There's just so much more that goes into it than just gifts. And I think that's why when we are well coordinated and we work together, so for example, like Christmas, this is a shame. It's a fight Vera and I always have, is that we always ask for sibling presents too. If you don't do presents, we always say like pajamas or something, and we actually give you the ages, because it's so hard that mom's not working with a child. Now she must go home, and this child, Christmas time is like a gold mine for childhood organizations. They come and they bring a million things. This child goes home with 22 presents and thinks it's all theirs, and the rest of the siblings have nothing, doesn't want to share. So there's just a lot of challenges out there in terms of getting the balance right, making sure that a family can try and have a decent Christmas, not only the child with cancer or a very special day, you know. So just all these like things that are psychologically affecting kids that maybe you might think we sound a little bit crazy, but these are like real things we're experiencing on ground level that parents are actually really struggling with. And so it's just, the generosity is amazing. We just have to make sure that as organizations working together, it's a bit more focused, that we can just deal with more basic needs, and that there's also other things the kids are needing, not only like divine gifts, just so that we can really empower them and just help those parents a little bit, you know, with dealing with these difficult situations.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense. You know, your first reaction is probably to give a toy, but as you explained, it's also difficult for that child to continue coming home with gifts, and the other siblings feeling, you know, are we not important? You know, because we're not ill, we don't have cancer, we don't get gifts, and that's also quite a topic that perhaps we need to share a lot, because you don't understand, and as CANSA and being involved with TLC, you know, you are seeing this, as you said, from ground level, because you're having to deal with the kiddies that are coming to these centers, and then the families or the siblings that are either coming to collect them or go home, and you see the effect that it's having on the other children when they are not getting anything in return for just being the sibling. You know, it's almost like, are we not really as important anymore? You know?
But they don't get their parents either. They see their mom maybe once a week when the dad goes to rotate. They don't see their parents on rotate. You know what I mean? It's like they miss out on like everything. So the gift is sometimes the cherry. It's like that last straw on the camel's back that some kids just throws them, you know. But there's just so much that the healthy sibling must look after themselves now because brother's sick. They must do other stuff around the house. The responsibilities increase. The siblings really, really go through a tough time. So just adding a shiny car, it's just sometimes like, it's too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they really go through a lot. Yeah.
Your thoughts, John?
So, you know, what comes to mind immediately is the psychological impact of cancer with families of a child diagnosed. I think that's an entire topic of its own. And, you know, it's, you know, in a way, it's quite difficult, I think, for it to resonate that the only child that has cancer in a family isn't meant to be made to feel special because of what you're saying. So it's almost like it has the completely reverse effect, where one would imagine that one would like to say to you, you've just lost your eye, but here's an action man, you're okay. So maybe it's a cultural thing that people need to be educated on. I do think there should be a balance too. And maybe this is where the education of families becomes more and more important, for them to realize that, hey, it's not only about us, because here's the little one that's suffering, here's the little one that might not make it, you know, in a few years' time. But yeah, a very interesting aspect of what we're dealing with, and something that I don't think most people actually understand. Yeah. We need a lot of work on that, that's for sure.
We just need 2 action mans. Let's just fix that. 2 action mans.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll double up on everything, including the healthy ice cream there, Vera, you asked for, hey?
Yes, no, that's extremely important.
It's not for everybody.
If you can mix it with peanut butter, it's high in protein, you know.
That's what I like about you. You're very easy to please. You know, it's amazing. Those of you that are with us, we're almost coming to the end of the session. Do you have any questions, Nicole? Do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Vera, when you talking about the nutritional ice cream, can you actually buy ice cream that's got more nutrients in it, or do you have to add them yourself, like you just said?
If you're willing to sponsor, I will go all the miles to find the person who will make it.
Actually, a high protein ice cream that a lot of gym bunnies use. It's a whey protein ice cream. That's high protein. But actually, I've just in a good old 5 litre scoop in a cooler box and send the people home. They'll be, you know what I mean, like, what more do you need on a hot South African day? So,
Nicole, it's just that ice cream is it's an important part of counseling. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And all kids love it. Yeah.
When we have a soft serve machine at lunchtime at the lodge with an outreach.
I'm sure. Yeah,
when you arrive depressed, leave with a smile.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah, okay.
And that's very important. Yeah. You don't think about that, but ice cream does make everybody smile. I mean, let's be honest. Not just the
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. We have to use all the tools we can to and that's Vera's got lots of wonderful, and even Bobby as well, the interesting, crazy things they do to make the kids feel more comfortable and just to put them at ease. You know, it's like a lot of kids, they get scared walking into like an office, and now but give ice cream, it just, you know, it just changes the mood. It's all these small little things that we try and do to make a difference. So yeah.
Awesome. Any other?
Yeah, if you want, we can arrange for a soft serve machine when you visit us.
Yes, that'll be lovely. So we're planning to visit.
You see, hint. No?
And I love that about Vera. That's what she says.
She's
Very
not
subtle.
scum, eh? She just asks.
We have no scum. If you're working, or you guys will know, you ask 100 people, you get 4 yeses, and you don't feel rejection.
There you
You just
go.
think, oh, and you move on. There's no. We live in the world of rejection daily in our work. So we just keep on trying. I always say it doesn't matter. Like, whatever you are, your national shanana or whatever you are in the NGO world, you are begging. All of us are.
And
make a difference.
got to put it out there, So we've already got the hint. We are visiting the Knickers Lodge on the 19th. If all goes well, God willing.
Have you got a special flavor of ice cream you'd like on the day, Nicole? What would you like? We put our orders in now.
Nicole, order something mixed, the chocolate and the white, the vanilla or whatever.
Yes.
And if you can let me know, we can ask somebody to drop the machine. And there's other machines that we can also drop. It depends on your budget. I'm open for anything.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll work on it. Making lots of notes. See.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to be visiting the Knickers Lodge on Friday, the 19th of February, in celebration of International Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. We're not going to be going on the 15th because Vera has explained to us that the 15th, I think, falls on a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes.
admissions are done on a Monday. So we prefer to be at the lodge on Friday when all these kiddies are being discharged, and we can hopefully support the outreach lunch for that day. And bring a couple of donations that we're going to be getting in terms of food parcels. And please, guys, I repeat, if there's anybody that's wanting to add to our food donation parcels that we are going to be taking to the Knickers Lodge on the 19th of February, please inbox me. I'll give you the details. If we could all help come together and just buy one extra item on the shopping list when you are doing your shopping, it'll be greatly, greatly appreciated. But yeah, I think in closing, perhaps, Cara, if you could just share with us 1 or 2 numbers for the telecounseling that you mentioned earlier.
Yes, so you can call us on 0800 22 6622. I'll say that again, 0800 22 6622. You can also go to CANSA's website, www.cansa, that's cansa.org.za. We have a huge amount of information on different cancers, fact sheets, slideshows, information. We have a massive amount of information. And we also have a really great group for parents that have children with cancer called CANSA CNSA TLC. It's a Facebook group. So a lot of moms and parents and people on there that are supporting each other. It's a closed group. We do have other groups as well. They are all closed because of clients and patient confidentiality. So if you are a mom and you're having a really rough day and you want to share something, it doesn't mean that everyone on your friend page needs to actually see what you've posted. So sometimes people want to share things and take things further, but the main core of the group is really guidance and support. And yeah, that was a decision why they are private groups. You'd ask them to, it's a closed group, ask to be joined. And then obviously anything that is posted there, it's unshareable. So no one can actually see the activity, or if, and yeah, I think that's also so different. Sometimes for people, it's easier to share on a platform that's private than maybe in their own, because they're just falling apart. They can't tell people around them that they are. So sometimes going to the TLC page and sharing how they're feeling is just kind of a bit safer for where they are on their journey. Yeah. And then they get encouraged, get strengthened. Vera a lot of the time makes contact with a lot of people that are doing queries, and they, you know, we say put your big girl or big boy panties back on and you face the day. So just sometimes, you know, it's sometimes people aren't really allowed to crumble with those they love. So we have to cater for all the needs that parents have, and that's one of them.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Thank you. And Vera from the TLC Knickers Lodge, if anybody wants to make contact with you, please could you share your email or contact number for those that are going to be
they're more than welcome to get hold of me via the CANSA TLC group on Facebook, or email tlc@cansa.org.za. Okay. I'm not always available on my cell phone, but I'll accept a WhatsApp. Okay. If I'm busy with people, I'm not going to answer the phone at the moment, and that is most of the time. So 082 466 152, please just send a WhatsApp. Okay. And then I do see that Monique is on also, and since she's in Pretoria, Monique is welkom by die Lotjie 19de, hoor.
We'd love to have you there, Monique, if you can hear us. I know she's on mute, but we'd love to see you there on the 19th. And as mentioned, Vera, just for a quick ending off, some items, food items that you prefer us to get donations from again, if you can just mention that list again for us, please.
I think in terms of what we've requested from you for now, tinned fish.
Yep.
It is a little bit more expensive, and it's the things that the parents can't afford.
Yep.
The Future Life is a very good product, and one of a few products with amino acids in. So that is highly appreciated. You have other quick porridges that doesn't have a high level of salt, sugar content.
Okay.
So you have Nitro, Wheat Bix, Matabella. Those are everything that we will appreciate for food parcels.
Perfect. And then also you said peanut butter.
Yeah, a packet of, if you donate treats, biscuits, a packet of biscuits so that the family can eat it, not one person, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want one lunch bar, I rather have a packet of marshmallows, which is more people eating on the same packet.
Okay. That's perfect.
Baby bears, jelly gums, those kind of things without sugar. It is nice and it's not going to hurt the gums.
Okay. Perfect. So thank you. A huge thank you from us. We've come to the end of our webinar for today, and an awesome session once again, very informative. Thank you so much to our guest speakers from our partner institution, CANSA, VERA and CARA. And I think in closing, once again, please, let's make everybody aware about the things that are happening around. Please become more aware of the signs and symptoms that we've mentioned earlier, so that we can try and get the diagnosis at the early stages, because as we always say, early detection does save lives, and it can help so much more if we can get to the hospitals quicker. Please, if anybody has any questions, you're welcome to email us. We'll get them through to the CANSA affiliates that can respond to you. But other than that, from our side, once again, a huge thank you. We'll see you, Vera, on the 19th of February. We look forward to it. We're very excited. And joining us next week on our webinar, we're going to be chatting to the owners of the M Store. A very interesting session. They provide a lot of accessories and goods for people going through cancer. So have a look out for that next week. We are going to share the audio on our YouTube page, so we'll share the links. You're welcome to share those links afterwards if you'd like, Cara and Vera. And yeah, in closing, John, your final thoughts?
No, guys, thanks very much. A very nice, informative session. Vera, I've got my list. I know what I need to put together. I'm always scared when I speak to you because I know that things are coming. But at Philosophy, we try and make dreams come true. Thanks very much.
My mother never taught me when to stop when somebody asks, so I used the opportunity. You can say no.
She will be very proud of you for honoring her legacy, for sure.
Thank you, everybody, and be safe. Please keep safe. We'll see you all next week. Lots of love.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.